What's up, guys? Welcome back. Hope you're having a good weekend. Of course, there has been so much talk about Rebel Moon and the reviews and all of this stuff going on, and I've been seeing a lot of fans sharing their experience watching it in theaters on Twitter, and it's really exciting to see feedback from people that have been watching it in theaters, and I'm super excited for all those fans and jealous at the same time. But I'm happy that there are places around the world and around the United States where people have been able to see it in theaters, so that's awesome. And I want to share a couple of things in this video today, but before I do, if you are new, make sure to subscribe before you leave today if you enjoy my video, and I appreciate new subscribers and all of your guys' support. So today I want to share a couple of cool things that are being shared online, different promos and different types of things that are popping up around different countries to promote Rebel Moon and to share it. Some really cool displays that Netflix has set up to promote Rebel Moon. Then I want to play a clip from one of Zack Snyder's recent interviews where he discusses his point of view on the director's cut for this movie, because that's been a hot topic of discussion as well, now that people are actually seeing it and watching it in theaters. So first, let's take a look at this really beautiful display in Poland promoting Rebel Moon. I think it's just really cool and unique and ethereal, and very just beautiful way to promote the film. This is in Poland. So I just love that display. I think it's a very unique, beautiful way to promote the movie, and it'll definitely catch anyone's attention who's around or who's in the area. Now, this next one, another beautiful display in South Bank, London. This really cool dome display. However, the interesting thing about this one, besides that it's beautiful, and it probably looks even more amazing and no doubt in person on location, but what people are bringing to attention in this particular promotion video is the voiceover. And I know sometimes fans hear what they want to hear, but I don't know. It's interesting. Let's listen to it.
I know a place, a solar system. It exists in the furthest reaches of another universe.
Beautiful.
We can go there together.
Now, like I said, I know sometimes people hear what they want to hear, see what they want to see, and sometimes things are kind of a stretch. Oh, you're just hearing what you want to hear. There are some people thinking that this could be Henry Cavill's voice, and obviously if it were, it would be kind of altered, and we hear music mixed in there, and it would be a little bit altered. There's some, but I hear it, like, especially if you listen to this video, it's on Twitter, it's a Netflix, and Netflix UK and Ireland account shared this. If you turn up the volume and really listen to it, I hear it. I hear that it sounds very much like him, but there's also a possibility that obviously there's a big possibility it's not him. But I do hear why people are saying that it sounds like him, because obviously actors can kind of alter their voice or change it up for different things, different reasons, different roles, different, voiceovers they may do. I don't think it's that much of a stretch, and it'd be very interesting if it were him. If it were him, doesn't mean, oh, he has some secret role in the movie, not saying that, but it would just be a cool thing to do with him as part of, promoting the movie. Okay, so the next thing I want to get into is Associated Press did an interview with Zack, and I'm not going to show the whole thing, it's about 7 minutes, this particular section, but I'm going to show part of it where he's talking about director's cuts, and obviously this parts 1 and 2 are both getting a R-rated director's cut that are both about 45 minutes to an hour longer for each one. Now that a lot of people have seen the movie, or quite a bit of people, one of the common things being said is that, why wouldn't they just release the extended cut or the R-rated cut, and was there a need or a reason? Was it really necessary to release the PG-13 version? Even though people are loving and enjoying it, was it necessary to hold off on the R-rated cut, and why didn't they just release that one, period, and not have two different versions? I see both sides of that. First, we're going to listen to what Zack has to say, then I'm going to share my thoughts as well. But there is a difference I think with this movie getting a director's cut and the director's cuts that he's had in the past for Watchmen, BVS, Zack Snyder's Justice League. So first, let's listen to what Zack had to say.
The only movie I would ever go back and work on is Sucker Punch. That's the only movie that I really think that there would be anything to do, because all of the movies up till now that needed a director's cut got one. And I've been really fortunate and very, I want to say very aggressive in my director's cuts sort of creation. And that's allowed me not to have to go back in a lot of ways, there's 3 cuts of Watchmen, that you can get, but there is a definitive one that I think that's the one, and I think the same thing, Batman vs. Superman, obviously, the director's cut is better. Justice League, I feel about that. Obviously, that's better. So it's really, to me, when it's needed, it exists.
Yeah.
And I in this case, I almost think that the director's cut of Rebel Moon is an alternative reality version. There's almost two. It's not an extended cut of this movie. It's almost like a different movie. It's almost a different universe that movie lives in than this movie. So and the reason for that is because we've gotten it's such a philosophical thing to shoot a director's cut of a movie before you finish this version. Because 99% of all of my director's cut existed as a response to
not to mention, I think it's
me
probably a given already before the first movie even comes out that they are going to expand beyond this, besides what we already know. The video, the mobile video game, the podcast, the animated short series, the comic book series, so the novelization. I definitely expect there to be a part 3, especially from the way a lot of the cast members and Zack and Debbie were talking about, some of the questions they answered on the red carpet and across the press tour. You just get the sense that that's what's going to happen, but they can't, obviously it's too soon for them to officially say that, or maybe that's what they're expecting to happen, but they can't officially say that right now.
Well, what if, by the way, it was Netflix's idea. They're like, well, but what if there was we said, do whatever you want over here. Yeah. Do the PG-13 version, and then just go nuts. We don't care. And that really is a thing I've never experienced before. It's bizarre. Okay. That's why it almost split the dimensional rift happened. When that was said out loud, and I think it'll be really a crazy experience for fans, because it's just it's the fully realized weirdo, heavy metal, bizarro land movie, where, with the PG-13 it can only go so far, and then it has to, there's parameters. This has no parameters. Just what can you think of, So it's a different experience, but I love them both, and I think it's really fun that they exist.
I'm glad Zack is saying that as well, because I know there are some fans that, like I said, just don't think it was necessary for them to have the PG-13 version and the director's cut rated R version. But I think this is a different situation compared to what we saw at Warner Brothers and the movie, not just, BVS, Zack Snyder's Justice League, but also that same thing happened with, like he said, there's a few different versions of Watchmen, and that was before this other DC universe that he started with Man of Steel. Like he mentions, those director's cuts happened because he was forced to take out certain elements of his movies before, or he was forced to cut them down to a certain runtime, or they were afraid of releasing rated R version of BVS, and and they were being greedy with it, trying to get more showtimes in theaters and whatnot. So I think this is a very different situation, because Netflix is not trying to strip back his creative freedom. They're not trying to say, oh, we don't want that, or people are not going to like that, or no, we can't do that because this character wouldn't do that, or people are going to get offended by this, or, it doesn't have anything to do with that. They still gave him total creative freedom. And like he said, what do you want to do? Do what you want. But they went into it knowing that there was going to be two versions of the movie. And like he said in another interview that I had talked about before, having a director's cut was like a prerequisite for making the PG-13 version in the first place. So he still had all that creative freedom. He said he loves them both. He's proud of them both. When it comes down to budget and things like that, and this movie is made for streaming, is going to be slightly different than making a movie that was made for theaters. So I understand that it's kind of a different situation. So I'm not necessarily bothered by it like in the past with BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice League. The very bothersome and annoying and frustrating, and what he had to go through just to put those versions of the movie out is very different than this situation. Him and Netflix have a great relationship, and they've fully supported everything that he's wanted to do with Army of the Dead, Rebel Moon, now starting this whole universe and this original IP. They're very supportive. Like they said, the more Zack we have, the better. And so I think it's very different from what happened in the past with him having director's cuts. So I'm not really bothered by it like what happened with DC. I don't doubt that a lot of people are going to prefer the director's cut of parts 1 and 2. And I did say earlier that the director's cut for part 1 may be coming out before part 2 is even released. So hopefully that's the case. But I mean, a lot of people have said, the PG-13 version just makes me even more excited to see the director's cut, and but it didn't necessarily like ruin their experience watching it. It was still a great movie, fantastic. They loved it, and they just it leaves you wanting more, which, like I said, is not a bad problem to have. But again, I don't think it's a negative in this situation that there is going to be a director's cut. I just think it's different from what happened before. And I'm glad that Zack also pointed that out in this interview and made that clear that it's a different situation. And it's kind of like the way he described it is also interesting, because he said it's not necessarily an extended cut. It kind of paints a different reality for the story, for the characters, for the universe. It's just a kind of an overall different experience, which makes it even more interesting to think about and to look forward to. And I think, as fans of his, we're going to enjoy both, because it is still what he wants to do with them. It wasn't him being forced to serve Netflix's, agenda. It's his IP, and they let him do what he wanted with it and build out this world. So I'm happy for it either way, and happy for them, and definitely looking forward to watching it. I just wanted to go ahead and share that because I thought it was an interesting way for him to describe it, and glad that he's explaining the distinction between his director's cuts experiences in the past and what this movie is very different. And again, December 21st at 7 p.m. Pacific time, it will be on Netflix. And to anyone who has seen it in theaters, hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was an awesome experience. But thank you guys for watching. Check out the links in the description, any videos you might have missed recently. You can also check out the short section on my channel and share your thoughts on what was covered in today's video. One day closer to Rebel Moon. Can't wait, and see you guys soon.